you see my screen okay, Frank?
Yeah, we got you live.
Okay, good. All right. Well, I guess we'll go ahead and get started. My name is Adam Bruttell, and I'm here with Frank Dickenson from Genesis of Atlanta. Excited to talk about digital retail that adapts to your dealership. We'll go ahead and get started. All right. The agenda today was we're going to do an introduction and poll, what the consumer is telling us, and five things to look for in a DR platform. And then we're going to do some Q&A. Also, I will be at the Digital Dealer Conference in Michigan in about a month. So hopefully I will see you guys there as well if you have any other questions. I'll kind of start with our panelists. Once again, my name is Adam Bruttell, National Director of Digital Retail with NETSOL Technologies. I've been in the automotive business for about most of my career, and most recently directly dealing with dealerships like Jim Ellis for the last 10 years. And let you introduce yourself, Frank.
Hi, I'm Frank Dickenson, General Manager at Genesis of Atlanta. Work with the Jim Ellis Automotive Group for 13 years now. Been in automotive for a little over 15. I have experience with multiple brands from Cadillac, Buick GMC, Audi, Volkswagen, Hyundai, and Genesis. So I have seen quite a few OEMs as I've helped out with the Jim Ellis Group over the years. And I'm just happy to be here to discuss digital retail with Adam. It's such an important thing for me. It's a passion for me to because it's going to drive the customer experience. So I'm excited to be here and look forward to discussing it.
Thanks, Frank. Thanks for attending. Happy that you're joining me today. I guess the biggest thing that Frank and I can do is hopefully keep you guys awake and give you some gold nuggets to take back to your dealership today. So hopefully this is a good kind of halftime break for you. Would love to tell you about NETSOL, just in case you don't know. NETSOL, we've been around for 30 years. We're actually a publicly traded company. Just like Jim Ellis, we were started with four brothers that started this company 30 years ago. Mercedes was one of our bigger deals on the captive financing that kind of set us off on a rocket ship. We became a unicorn in 2000, and we've just been growing and growing. So, these are some of the sectors that we're in. Kind of talked about Transcend Finance, Transcend Retail, that which I'm over, Marketplace, and AI Labs. And as you can see, some pretty impressive brands over the last 30 years. And Frank.
Yeah, so the Jim Ellis Automotive Group has a legacy of family leadership and continued growth over the years. It was established in 1971, opening a Volkswagen dealership by the founders Jim Ellis and his wife Billy. And under their leadership, there was a really strong family culture that was established within the dealership. And as they continued to grow, that stayed deeply rooted in everything that we do today. In 2015, their son, so this is like about 2 years after I started with the group, Jimmy Ellis assumed leadership over the group. And he had a clear vision of like expansion and growth. So Jimmy successfully doubled the size of our company over the 7 years that he was the CEO and president of the company. But then, late in 2022, we tragically lost Mr. Ellis and Jimmy Ellis on separate occasions, almost a month apart to the day. Um, and their passing was, obviously unexpected, especially with Jimmy. And it was very devastating for all of us that worked for the company, and of course for the community because they were so involved in the community. So it was a huge deal for us. But following their passing, there was a group of third generation Ellis family members who stepped in, and they were already heavily involved in the day-to-day operations at that point. But Wesley Ellis, who's Jimmy's son, and Stacy Ellis Hodges, who is Jimmy's daughter, and of course Brooke Ellis Gatling, who is Jimmy's niece. They all took active leadership responsibilities within the organization, and then they handled that transition just beautifully with poise and commitment, and just kept the legacy going. And their steady leadership has continued to grow the organization ever since then. And the family leadership is it's still communicated through to this day, and it's even extending to a fourth generation. Adam, there's a couple of the younger fourth generation that are actively working across sales, parts, and service within several of the other groups' brands. And we currently have 21 automotive brands with a commercial division and a brand new Mercedes van center that was just completed. And they're all across the metro Atlanta area and surrounding communities. So the organization is committed to growth, and so the future is bright. I think the legacy of the family is strong. I think it's going to continue to grow, and we're 55 years at this point and growing. So just looking forward to continuing with the family.
Yeah, thanks, Frank. Yeah, we're just, starting our second generation, and hopefully we get to the third and fourth, like Jim Ellis. You guys are wonderful partners and have a wonderful story. Um,
Thank you.
yeah. All right. So we're going to start with a poll question, guys. So, where does your dealership digital retail experience break down most today? So, as we go through these, I'd love for you to think about it, Frank. Sorry, let
Absolutely.
me go back here. So customers start online, but have to start over when they walk in. Too many disconnected tools that don't talk to each other. Team can't work a deal away from the desk. Sales walks into a conversation blind, no financing or intent info. Honestly, we're not really doing a digital retail yet. So, Frank, what kind of resonates with you looking at this poll?
So obviously, I think they're great questions. They all resonate with me on different levels. I think one of my biggest pain points, unfortunately, though, is too many disconnected tools that don't talk to each other properly. You load information in one tool, and then try to attempt to push it to the other tool, and it doesn't push everything, right? Or you lose bits and pieces. Um, and that's even with tools that are from the same parent companies. So
Hmm.
having one tool that could house everything so that the salespeople have ease of use, it would be very, very important to me. That one definitely resonates. I think the second one, to be honest with you, is the customer start online but start over when they walk in, and that's just not premium experience. So we need to know where the customer's at in the experience, and your tool offers that. And I think it's an amazing thing to be able to have the salesperson pick up right where the customer left off and then go from there. To me, that screams
Hmm.
luxury and it screams premium. So that's what I'm most excited about.
Yeah, and I think what you said, yeah, A and B are resonating with the group, especially B, too many disconnected tools. And I think the industry's been saying that for a while. So thank you guys for the poll. Um, oh, All right. Frank, can you see my screen again?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right, there we go. All right, so this is, kind of, what are buyers telling us? So buyers want more online, but still finish in the store. So I think most of you dealers, right, you dealt with this with COVID, right? Everybody was rushed to do digital retail, right? And then, it really kind of fell off, right? So I kind of almost equate it to electric vehicles, right? Everybody was getting electric vehicles and hybrid is kind of what won out. And so I really feel digital retail, a hybrid method. So 63% want an omni-channel buying experience and 28% want to fully buy online, but only 7% actual buy online, right? And so kind of that old debate, buyers don't want either extreme. They want to start on the couch and keep going, to the store and not repeat themselves. So
Yeah,
um
that's
did
what we just
mhm,
discussed, right? Yeah,
yeah.
so at the end of the day, being able to pick up where the customer's at and know which step they're on when they do show up at the showroom is going to completely change the experience for the customer. And knowing that we don't have to start back at square one. Obviously, getting someone to complete the entire process online, we're pretty good at Genesis of Atlanta. And Jim Ellis, we've always had the Jim Ellis Expressway where we actually will have our own fleet of delivery trucks and we'll flatbed the vehicles to customers and complete all the paperwork digitally. Those are great things, but not a lot of customers opt in to complete it the whole way through. So that's really the frustrating part is we offer it because we want customers to use it. So having them be able to purchase from within one place and complete it all the way through, I think is going to come and continue to grow.
Hmm.
I just don't think we're there yet.
Yeah, I agree. Right now, yeah, just 7%. Um, your customer already did their homework, has your team, right? So kind of the Amazon effect. Each consumer is spending about 14 hours researching the vehicles online. And, in the last decade, they've gone from 5 dealerships to pretty much zoning on what dealership, they want to go to, right? So kind of like what we were saying, it's very important for the dealers to be, armed with the right information, and probably, just basically train your staff, right? The consumers that are coming into that dealership are well informed. They know the exact vehicle trim, how they want it configured. They know the trade-in value, they know the payment, financing, they know what F&I products. And so it's kind of your job to know where they are in the journey.
Yeah, it's our job not to mess it up, Adam. At the end of the day, they've
Okay,
done all the
yeah.
research. They're ready to buy a car. They've done research on that, and they also have done research on your dealership. They've walked into your store for one reason or another, whether it's Google reviews or word of mouth, etc. And at that point, it's your job not to mess it up. Make it easy on the customer to buy the car, and we got to get out of our own way.
Hmm. Yep, good point. And our next slide, anyone can put a form online. Transparency is the key. So we keep hearing that, right? So I think building trust with your consumers. So some some things that are out there, co-browsing. So you're able to be kind of transparent and help them shop for those vehicles. You're able to get those active shopper signals. So you're able to go into maybe your desking tool and you're able to see what products they hit, what financing, were they looking at. And so, research online before visiting, 82% of customers are doing that. 77% are saying transparent pricing builds trust. And kind of the delta, if you see here, is buyers want to choose F&I products online, but only 16% are able to, the biggest unmet demand. And I would say as it's very tough on the front end right now. So, anything that you can do to promote those F&I products or your dealer products, that you can sell on the back end.
Yeah, again, transparency, I think, is a must in today's automotive industry. The old days of trying to hold cards close to your vest and control the deal process, those things are really gone. If you're doing that, you're probably making the deal much more difficult on the customer and losing a lot of trust with them, which is costing you money. If you can have the customer come in and have them experience something that feels just extremely transparent to them, with a digital process that works from A to Z, you're going to have those walls come down. Customers are going to believe the things that they saw online, that's what they're going to pay when they get in the store. And then, of course, the F&I products, again, that's dealers trying to control the environment. They need to offer these products up with clear explanation, and your team needs to be trained up to sell those products accordingly. So if you do it the right way and you are transparent and you stick to it, I feel like you're opening up more opportunity for profit, versus the old adage of, you're giving away gross because you're showing the customer too much. They have everything they want to see online. They can see rates online. They can see payments online, and it's not even necessarily on a laptop or on a desktop. They've got the computer right here in their hand, right? So
Yeah.
they don't need to go anywhere to get this information. They can do it sitting right in your dealership. So transparency is key, with every transaction.
Yeah, exactly. Too many disconnected tools and forced process. 62% of dealers run multiple retailing tools, creating data that doesn't match and systems that don't talk to each other. So, as you know, Frank, you guys are dealing this with every day, right? Customer builds a deal on your website. They walk in, the store can't see any of it. Salesperson rekeys everything by hand. The deal comes back with the wrong amount, and I've heard sometimes, like $2,000, $3,000. That's frustrating. Sales doesn't have the authority to submit the deal, and then kind of the time tax of the back and forth. And I really love what you guys are doing, giving your sales representatives some autonomy to make some decisions out there.
Yeah, so with our process, the team all works from iPads, and they're able to do everything, from a front end standpoint, from negotiations, to deal packet paperwork, etc. All of those things can be done right there, with the customer. And it's completely transparent. It eliminates the need for back and forth. So we give our salespeople some autonomy to make decisions. Of course, we do give them guardrails, to make sure that they're not going way off the reservation. But at
Hmm.
the end of the day, they need to be able to make decisions for your dealership. And what is that going to do for the customer if the salesperson is not having to go back and forth to the manager in order to get approval to discount a car $500 or $1,000 or whatever the number is that you are comfortable with giving to your salespeople, having them be able to stick their hand out and shake somebody's hand and say, we have a deal. And the customer looks at them and says, you don't have to ask for permission. No, no, sir, we don't. This deal is already, moving forward. And then to be able to complete the rest of it digitally, it just completely relaxes the customer,
Hmm.
and it opens the door up for your finance team, because now when they speak to them, they're going to speak to them with guards down, with trust that's been developed between the salesperson and the customer. All of these things are extremely important. I like the beginning of what you've got there, Adam, is extremely important too, though, which is when the customer comes into the store, your tool is offering an opportunity for my sales team to be able to see where the customer has been during the shopping
Hmm.
process in your tool. And so they can see the F&I products that the customer has explored. They can see the things that the customer has really already completed, and they can pick up where they left off. And it gives them talking points, moving forward. So all of those things are important. But yes, absolutely. A disconnected tool process. We talked about that a minute ago on the poll questions. Those things are very troublesome. But again, I'm most excited about the fact that my salespeople will be able to complete a deal from A to Z. They'll be able to push a deal to the F&I office, and then when they get to F&I, there's a whole other digital experience that takes place, with them. So it's going to offer so much for us.
Yeah, and I just, I've heard those horror stories of, them, kind of doing the back and forth with finance and, they'll be on their phones and they'll just leave the dealership. So,
Yeah,
keeping their
my dad.
attention. Yeah,
My
yeah.
dad, he used to take me to the car dealership when I was a kid, and he would say he'd be negotiating with the salesperson. He said, "Now I'm going to give this guy one chance. He's going to go back to his manager, and he's going to come back and give me the number that I want, or we're going to get up and walk out. Don't look surprised." And I'm like, "Yes, sir."
Mhm.
So they would go and talk to the manager, get a number, come back, and then they would never get the number, of course, that my dad wanted. And so my dad would just stand up and walk out. And then we would get in the car and leave. And I'm like, I thought you really wanted to buy that truck. And he's like, they'll call me in a week and do what I asked them to do. And it's just so silly to
Antiquated.
me. It's
Yeah,
antiquated. It's dated
yeah.
to have this
Hmm.
system where you have to go back and forth between managers and salespeople, and like you have to go behind the curtain and talk to the Wizard of Oz to get the answer that you want. At
Hmm.
the end of the day, we've got to remove all those troubles because again, you talked about the customer coming to visit the dealership 1.4 times. So I don't know about the rest of you. I want to be the one. I don't want to be the point four. So my target is to make sure that when the customer's there, that our team is doing everything they can to put the deal together because the customer has already done the work and it's our job to get it right. And that's it.
Yep. Yeah, and I think anybody in their job, like all of us, you want autonomy, right? So I think it just helps sales performance. It probably creates a little bit more training with your sales managers, but it's well worth it. Um,
Absolutely.
friction is expensive at cost, right? So all of that, is wasted time, lower trust, and lost deal. Um, so I think those are all things that we can learn from. All right. So now we're going to kind of go, what can you do about it, right? What are some best practices with digital retail? We're going to start with another poll, guys. So a digital retail tool must have. So one deal online to showroom, works on any device, anywhere, real pricing transparency, connects seamlessly to our DMS and CRM, easy for my team to use. So looking forward to if you guys can answer this poll. And what do you think, Frank?
I think these are all great questions.
Yeah, yeah,
I really do. I think
yeah.
that's a strong set right there. Um, we've talked about transparency. We've talked about, one deal online to showroom. Working on any device is important. Um, you know, I, I think the ease of use for your team is probably going to be really high. And the reason I say that is because, your sales teams, we all know they take the path of least resistance, right?
Yeah.
So if you don't give them a tool that they have proper training on, that's easy to use, then they're going to go back and revert to old habits. So I think having a, a tool that truly is easy for them to use. There's not repetitive entry, double entry, and then having that tool connect to those other DMS, CRM tools, and then all of that information transferring over. Those are things that are going to be such time savers for the customer first, but it'll also save time for your F&I team because they're not having to go back and re-enter data that's already been put in once by the sales team. So I think all of these questions are extremely, extremely valid.
Yeah, and like you said, Frank, pretty much it's kind of even on everything. Ease of use for my sales team is kind of winning to your point. Because if it's not easy, like you said, they're going to revert back. But I think all of these things are very important and very relative. So, all right, let me get back here. All right. So, thank you guys for answering those questions. All right, we're going to move on to some things that you can do. One customer journey, zero restart. So, begin online, continue in the showroom, finish anywhere, no re-entering, no lost momentum. So, one deal followed. The same deals travel with the customer from web to delivery, nothing retyped, momentum kept. So I think we kind of covered that, right, Frank? But it's just keeping that momentum, making sure that it's easy for your sales team, not retyping, no restarts.
Absolutely.
And adapts to your dealership. So, every dealership, right? We kind of talked about, it started with the widget online and then it's end to end. Every dealership, I'm out there every week. I was just in Key West, Miami, this week. Um, and I think, you want a system that is scalable and stackable. You can use a system, maybe at the beginning that you just want a widget, you want leads, fed into your CRM. Others are more comfortable with an end to end, right? So, um, the lead, starts on your website, it goes to your CRM, you're looking at those, active shopper reports. But then most of those leads are and deals are going to your finance office and they're desking the deals and then they're going into your DMS. And then you kind of have the kind of a hybrid approach, right? That you guys are doing, right? Frank, where you're really more interested on the showroom side. So customers are coming in, the lead really starts in the showroom. You're giving autonomy to your salespeople with certain restrictions on desking the deal, and then final approval with finance, and then it's signed by the dealer and the customer, and then the deal's completed. So maybe you can go
Yeah.
into that a little bit.
So for us, I wanted to get away from a traditional paper experience, right? I feel like it's cumbersome, it's antiquated, and we live in a digital space. Customers' attention spans are extremely short, so keeping them interacting with the digital tool is very is it changes the experience, right? So for us, the everything is done on the iPad. We don't have desks in our showroom. We have like small little living room areas where the customers sit and with the salesperson and they can browse inventory. They can pull up anything they want online. They can price compare and shop with the tool, and they can work payments if they want. They can discuss all of those things, and they can agree to numbers right there, everything on the iPad. Then they can DocuSign every single document that is required for the salesperson to get signed right there on the iPad. Again, they're touching the digital tool, and they're interacting with that digital tool the entire time. And it just changes the level of transparency when the customer, I mean, everybody's used to holding a tablet of some sort
Mhm.
and doing those things. So they're able to do um, all of those things right there at their fingertips. And so once they get through everything that the salesperson needs, at that point again it pushes over to the F&I team, and then they can start working on their process and preparing for the customer to come into their office. So for me, being able to get away from, wet signature, printing paper, back and forth, all those things, it has really changed the level of transparency with the customer and has earned us their trust.
Yeah, I like your dream, right? My dream is to get off of paper.
Yeah, it's
So,
it's
yeah,
it
yeah.
definitely changes the experience.
All right. And then eliminate the disconnect, right? So, Frank, you guys have all of these, softwares that, that you're purchasing, right? So F&I and desking and CRM, DMS, website, tablet, mobile. So, to your point, you know, these need to be easy, right? And, to keep your salespeople's interest, it needs to be easy, right? So, as soon as these kind of break down, that's when, your team kind of starts reverting to old habits, I would say.
Correct. The double entry,
Mhm.
things like that. As soon as they see it, that's when they give up on the tool and they go a different direction. Um, Again, that's the most exciting part about your tool.
Hmm.
And Adam, I think it's important to mention that, we are getting some chat questions, and those are going to all be answered at the end. So I just noticed there was quite a few coming through, and just
Yeah.
wanted to kind of jump in and let them know that we're going to circle back on all of those and make sure we get those answered.
Yeah, thanks, Frank. Yeah, we'll answer those at the end. I can't see them yet. I see that there's maybe eight, so that's exciting. So I look forward to answering some of those at the end. All right, and then number four, improve the quality of every interaction. Walk in knowing the customer, trade-in, payment, preferences, finance, incentives, and buying intent. So, you know, the more information that your sales team and F&I departments can know beforehand, right? So, and we've kind of discussed that, the better, um, that you can concentrate on the customer experience and not repeating all that information that they've already entered in. So,
And I
and
believe it
then
does
five,
lead to higher close rates. I believe that wholeheartedly.
yeah. Hmm.
When the customer comes in and you're picking up where they left off, you're respecting their time, which is paramount to everyone. And then, so to me, it definitely leads to higher close rates.
Definitely. And then, number five, built for today and ready for tomorrow. So, we kind of talked about, partnerships, being a second generation and a fourth generation company, right? You want to be able to have a really good partnership, feel like we have that with Jim Ellis and our different partners out there, right? That you can grow together, that you really sit down and talk about kind of the future, and you're rowing in the same direction because sometimes it doesn't make sense, right? And so I think it's just very important, on both sides, the vendor side and the dealer side, to really sit down and make sure that you're with the right partner, that you know that you have the same technology needs in the future. This industry is going so fast, so it's not even about what it's right now. What is it from a year from now, right? And I know those are some things that we discussed with Jim Ellis, and so I think it's, take your time and make sure that, you're picking a partner that is willing to grow and just be very, open and honest. And I think, that's what makes a great partnership.
You guys have been extremely flexible, understanding the challenges that we face day to day in the showroom, and you guys have listened and come back with solutions. And then you're offering consistent training and dedicated staff to that. So, I see room for us to continue partnership for as long as we need, because you guys have been there and you showed it.
Yeah, I think you think I have a home in Atlanta, but I don't. So this talks about, just, shift online to 2030. It's about, about a 40% increase on everything, right? So um, I think, Frank, we were talking about Y2K, right? The whole system was supposed to crash. So I feel like 2030 is 10 years from now, and it's basically 3 years. So it's coming fast, right? And so, I think dealerships and vendors really need to be ready, for the next 3 years. It's coming quick, right? So, credit pre-approval, credit approval, price negotiations, lease rates, you guys can kind of see them. All of those things are going online and it's going quickly. And I don't know, what have you seen, Frank, on this, maybe different aspects of digital retail moving quickly.
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely heading to that direction more and more every day. Whether it's scheduling test drives at home for consumers so that they don't have to come into the dealership. Selection of vehicles already taken place. Price negotiations can be done. Trades can be uploaded by customers. They've already shopped the trade through CarMax or Carvana or some other tool. They've already had an appraisal on there. So all those things are being done prior to even stepping foot into a dealership. And as the years go by, customers will get more and more comfortable with completing the process as the newer generations are coming behind us and feeling more comfortable to do all these things.
I know. Isn't it amazing watching your kids or grandkids need, I mean, they're on these iPads, right? I think they can operate them better than we can. So it's just that's definitely the future. And then I will we'll open up to questions. I know we have a bunch of them here, Frank. So um, let's see. So thank you guys for hanging in here. Um, I guess, Frank, if we have Stephen, thank you, with one question. How does GM balance digital retail with traditional dealership experience?
So I think you have to embrace it. I think you need to make sure that one, you have the right tool for your salespeople to use. Make sure that it is easy for them, that they are trained and well trained and offered support from that tool in order for them to be able to be using it in a showroom environment with ease. And again, that's what we're doing. We go live with Adam's product on September 14th. We have spent a lot of time getting this together. We have been so frustrated by the current digital retail space that we've been offered. And this partnership, and it truly has been, it's been a 6 month labor of love that we have been working together to try to build this showroom piece of this product so that it functioned the way that we need it to operate. So I think the sooner you embrace digital retail, incorporate it, and keep it as part of your normal day-to-day practice, the better. And again, you guys can check out what Adam's Tools got to offer. But for us, it's showing us the capability for the salesperson to do everything they need to do completely digitally, 100%, no paper needed, customer agreement with autonomy, transparency, ease of transaction. All those things are taking place for us. So it needs to be embraced in any traditional environment, um, and, and and just make sure your team is using it.
Uh, thanks, Frank. Another question we have is, um, how much does being upfront on pricing numbers actually move the needle on closing deals? I know we kind of talked about that, and on customer trust.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of dealerships are one price stores, right? So the price you see online is the price you pay. They don't allow negotiations. Some dealerships do still allow negotiations. I don't think those dealerships that are one price stores necessarily have any issues when it comes to selling vehicles or closing customers. I think again, the customer's done the work, right? They've shopped for the vehicle. They have decided on your store, and they are coming to you for one reason or another. And at that point, we need to pick up the pieces of where they've been to, put it all together, and be prepared to respect their time and make the transaction easy. With us, it is some flexibility for the salesperson to make those kinds of decisions. And for me, it's also adds to the transparency when the customer feels like they don't need another voice in order to authorize that deal. I can understand where some of you would feel uncomfortable with that, but um, I just feel like the traditional way of the back and forth and the grind that we put customers through when they're not visiting four dealerships anymore just doesn't make sense. If they're only visiting one dealership, then make sure you close that deal with transparency and make the customer's experience elevated. And that's just my position on it.
hmm and some of these are comments, so it's kind of shifting through questions and comments. But I like us to talk to us about fraud prevention. I've had dealers, say end to end, right? Had one in Florida said, "Oh yeah, they were delivering it to a swamp or something like that," right? So I definitely think it's kind of a hybrid model, and I think fraud is very important, right? And it's It's good, making sure you have synthetic fraud and they're downloading their license. And I think that's why right now most people are comfortable with that hybrid model. And so because they worried about fraud a little bit, but maybe Frank, you can talk about that, kind of how uh, you mitigate fraud with digital retail and maybe some checks that you guys use.
Well, your system already has some checks in there, Adam. What's the name of the the piece of the
Well, the
tool that
synthetic
does?
fraud,
Yeah, the
synthetic
synthetic
fraud,
fraud.
whatever.
Yeah,
Hmm.
you have
Yeah.
that piece in place.
And
That's just another tool on top of what we're already doing through our ID check verification.
mhm.
There's a lot of different ways that different tools that we have that we can do fraud check online. We have to be prepared for that. At the end of the day, with customers wanting to complete processes from A to Z at home, we need to make sure we're talking to that person. We need to make sure that that is actually who we're dealing with. And I think with all of those things in place, not to mention protecting the customer's information, right? We want to make sure that none of that information gets out, um, and it's in control. So, fraud prevention is important, and we have to take, but it's part of the deal, and we all need to figure it out.
I'm kind of typing my address, guys. Some there are some pricing, questions. Um, it really depends on kind of what module you guys want. So I encourage you, um, to contact me. Like I said, also too, I'll be, at Digital Dealer. There's also another conference in Detroit, starts on Monday. That I'll be there. So I'll be there for like a couple of weeks. But definitely we can discuss pricing. I feel like, we're very competitive on that, but I'd want to see kind of what you guys want. So yes, Digital Dealer. Um, I think that concludes, guys. Please, I don't know if you want to
There
maybe
was
put
one
your
question,
email.
Adam. There
Okay.
was one question I
Yeah.
saw that popped up from someone about
Okay.
are you guys approved yet? Is NETSOL approved with Genesis? And the answer to that question is no. They have not been approved yet. However, everything has been sent to Genesis, and from what we understand, they are opening up to more platforms. They realize they've constrained us with the options that we currently have for approved vendors. In addition to that, if you're into taking these kinds of tools on that aren't approved, the only thing you're at risk of with Genesis currently under their new programs is losing co-op money. So they only pay 50% anyways. They're not paying 100% like some brands do. So they're only paying you 50% back. Um, and for us, the dollars that we're getting back, and we're one of the larger dealers when it comes to new car volume in the country. But the dollars we're getting back for co-op are not significant enough for me to continue using the horrible options that have been offered to us by Genesis. So I'm willing to forego those co-op dollars to experience what NetSol has put together for us with Transcend Digital. And at the end of the day, Genesis can keep those small dollars, and we're going to go ahead and make sure we're improving the customer experience by using a tool that lets us do everything that we want to do from A to Z, and is not broken like the current options that we have.
Yeah. And I appreciate you being a good partner, Frank, and seeing that vision.
I'm
And
absolutely.
yeah,
I'm going to be.
yeah.
We're going to launch it. We're going to have a few hiccups. But we are prepared to adapt and overcome those. And I have a feeling by Q1 we're going to be rocking and rolling into the new
Hmm.
year, and I'm excited.
Yeah. I'm excited too, Frank.
Yep.
Well, thank you, everyone. I put my information in there. Like I said, hopefully I'll see you at Digital Dealer. I don't know if Frank, you want to put your email if they, people want to, contact you as well, as a thought leader. And I think everybody really respects the Jim Ellis Group. So
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll share my email address here, and if anybody wants to discuss our process or anything else that has to do automotive, I'm always open to discuss it. If you're in the market for a Genesis or you have a family member or a friend in the market for a Genesis, we will take great care of them. I promise you. Send them to Genesis of Atlanta. And
Yes.
I appreciate you guys sitting in with us.
Yeah, and I'm also, maybe if you guys didn't see that, I'll just say verbally too, Adam.Bruttell, Bruttell at netsoltech.com. And then I'm also putting my cell. I think all of us are texting all the time, right? So usually that's the best for both of us. 713-298-4455. So just maybe tell me who you are in the text, and uh, love to, possibly start building a partnership like we were doing with Jim Ellis. So
Absolutely.
thank you guys. Thanks for
Yeah.
your time, Frank. Good luck with the
Yeah.
rest of your
Keep
month. And
keep selling, guys, and happy motoring. I
yes,
appreciate you, Adam.
yes,
All right,
yeah,
take it easy.
appreciate you too. Good luck,
All
guys.
right,
Bye
bye-bye.
bye.